So again, although it's already been cleaned once, you want to clean it again, ideally, again with a panel wipe or panel degreaser, or if you can't really do hot soapy water once this is on, so you'd have to just do like a clean rag, try and clean it up as best as you can. Once that's done, it's a case of mix up your paint and start applying. So you're ready to paint. Now, kind of the tools I use is a good mask. You need a good quality mask. This is good for 2K paints. Good mask, good quality paintbrush. With our paint, you don't really need a mixing cup, and I'll show you why in a minute. But they're handy to have. And a paint roller tray and a 4-inch solvent safe roller. I think they're made by Rota. About £10 for a pack of 10, I think. But yeah, they don't break up. A lot of paints, you'll start rollering in, and after about 20 minutes they'll start breaking up, whereas these don't, and they give a really good finish with the end. So you get minimum kind of roller lines and stuff. So they're really good. Obviously a good paintbrush, like I said. And your paint, obviously we're going to be patina painting, so I'm going to put a base on first, which is I'm going to use a rusty paint as a base. The benefit with that obviously going on first is it gives you the anti-corrosion protection, so any kind of bare metal bits, any rub throughs or anything, this can go straight over the top and it'll protect it from rusting through. So we're going to use this as a base, and then we're going to go over the top with this kind of baby blue colour, and I'm going to put some cream on, and we're going to weather it all up with some sign writing and stuff. So that's the plan. I'm going to show you how to mix this, and I'm going to show you how far a 250mm kit goes, because we always advertise it as just one wing, and I'm sure it'll go a lot further than that. Right, so you get your paint and your hardener. These two need mixing, but the first thing you need to do is mix your paint as much as possible. Now, I've been mixing this off camera, but you probably want to mix it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Take the lid off. It should be a nice gloopy consistency. It won't be full to the top, obviously, I'll show you why in a minute, but give it a good mix, make sure everything off the bottom's nicely in. So you can probably see on the camera it's quite thick. The hardener, just give that a quick shake, and then the reason why there's a gap at the top is because you add the hardener to your tin of paint, as you can see, and then it's a case of mixing your hardener in. So you can discard that, recycle it, whatever you want to do with that. So give this a good mix. This needs mixing again, probably for about 4 or 5 minutes, and it's handy if you mix it throughout. Now it's thin enough to go through kind of a paint gun. Obviously we're going to be roller applying it. Another tip is when you get it sort of semi there, you can chuck the lid back on. Make sure obviously you're holding it extremely tight. Last thing you want to do is chuck paint everywhere and start shaking. So it's a bit more evenly shaped now, a bit more evenly mixed, shall I say. So that's it, let's apply it. Right, so a tip with bits you can't get to. The whole point is you're applying the paint as thin as possible, really, to get 2 coats. The reason you want it thin is because you don't want to have roller lines if you can avoid it. But there'll be loads of bits you can't get into. So what I tend to do is dab a bit of paint on the brush, paint them in these areas first. Get a brush in, your painting where it needs to go, and then just go over the top with a roller just to remove the excess paint. I think it's called tipping off or tipping out or something like that, but and then that gives you kind of a nice flat surface again, so just do that all the way around. Right, so as you can see, first kind of coat on, it's got a good coverage for a first coat, and out of the 250ml kit, there's obviously still a bit in there, and there's enough in the tray to go over for a second coat. However, obviously I'm going to work my way around. So we advertised that one of these kits for 20 something, I can't remember the exact amount of money, it's before shipping, will cover that panel, where in reality I've done nearly a quarter of a car in it, so that's including door shuts, underneath, arches, etc. So yeah, we're going to just crack on, do the first coat, come back round, hopefully it'll be touch dry to do a second coat, then we're going to leave it before putting the body colour over the top. Right, so we've got 2 coats of the rusty paint on. It's a case now realistically of leaving it overnight for it to fully cure. Now if you're going to put a top coat over the top, then you want to go on to the next part of the video. However, if you're just going to do a full car full of rust or a project full of rust, you can kind of leave it as it is, leave it overnight and then activate it. Now we do say on the cans to sand it with different grades of sandpaper. I'm going to put a colour coat over the top, so I'm going to have a look tomorrow and see if there's any kind of high areas I want to just flatten out. That's all the sanding you need to do, is just flattening off any kind of high spots in the paint. What I mean by high spots is like if you've got any kind of drips or kind of runs or roller marks, then obviously just sanding it with a bit of sandpaper will flatten it out, ready for your colour coat to go over the top. Kind of you want to leave as much texture as you can on, really, or I tend to anyway, because you want the colour coat to sink into it, so you can do a quick sand over the top once your colour's on and get kind of specks of rust throughout the whole kind of finish. So that's the plan. I'm going to just leave it now overnight. If you want to activate it as it is, then it's a case of tomorrow just literally Scotch-Brighten it with the activator, you're good to go. But obviously we're going to be putting colours over the top. So yep, see you tomorrow.